fans of the computer screen glow of a chronic masturbator, fans of human cockfighting and sanctioned violence, where in men spill blood on their Reebok fight kits. Welcome back to Naughty Boy Fight Picks. This is my picks and predictions video for UFC Fight Night 135. I believe numbers are hard to keep track of. Otherwise known as UFC Lincoln Gaethje versus Vic. Obviously during the week, last week, I did a video for the main event there. I think that ran about 26 minutes, so probably the longest video or focus I've put on one fight. If you watch that, you'll see why, and we'll get into a bit more about that fight later on in this video. We'll go through the card bottom to top. Bit of a disclaimer, I've made picks for all the fights. Some have been more thoroughly investigated than others, so I will let you know which is which. Fuck, I left my water behind me. 1 second. You got to see I got my pajama pants on. Right, so we'll get into this card anyhow. First fight of the evening, we got Ronnie Yaya versus, what's his fucking name, Luke Sanders. So Luke Sanders, 2-2 in the UFC so far, not against very tough competition. Came in undefeated, 10-0. Recently had a submission loss to Alcantara. I believe that was a knee bar. So he does have a submission loss on the record, which is relevant being that he's fighting Ronnie Yaya, 3-time world BJJ champion. Sanders has big power in his left hand, and he loads that up frequently and looks to hurt his opponent. Things I saw in past fights that I didn't like for Sanders was, if he does hurt his opponent, he's not very composed when going for the finish, and he opens himself up and is susceptible to get hit. That last fight, the win over Williams, he had Williams real beat up in the first round. I think it was even in the first round Williams began like putting his hands on his knees in the middle of the fight, and I don't know about you, but that looks like a defeated guy. But Sanders couldn't get him out of there, and in the second round, Williams came back, landed a shot on Sanders, and the fight kind of turned around for about the space of a round. Williams came out in the third and I believe was winning, and then near the end of the round, Sanders landed another big shot and kind of stole the round. But yeah, I think this is a bad style matchup for Sanders. That aggression, I think, will land him in the clinch, which will ultimately lead to him being on the ground with Yaya, which is somewhere you don't want to fucking be. So I believe Yaya's going to get the sub on this. I may look at the prop bet on that when it comes out, depending what it's paying. But I have put 3 units on Ronnie Yaya, and that's at pick'em odds at present, I believe. So pretty confident Yaya gets the win here. Sanders, like my bet I made on, what's his fucking name? Or the bet I made against Matt Sales last week. I just think Sanders' game is too limited. His offense, just trying to land that big heavy shot, I don't think it will prevail against a veteran like Ronnie Yaya. Next fight up, Drew Dober versus John Tuck. Didn't look into this one too extensively. Dober's coming back down from welterweight after, so he recently went up to welterweight. He's coming back down. He's been on a decent run, so he's gone 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So I'm curious as to why he's changing weight class again. Tuck, however, hasn't been having a great time recently. He's lost 3 of his last 5, and he's Never been stopped though, so I'm picking Dober here by decision. He's got a pretty good rounded game, and I think he can win this. Just I might have played it, but not too sure what to make of the weight cutting or the division changing shit. So steering clear of that at present. But yeah, pick there is Dober by decision. Next fight up is Jojo Calderwood versus, what's her name? Kalindra Fahea. Sorry, I'm terrible with the pronunciation there. I didn't look too far into this, but yeah, Fahea is yet to win in the UFC. I think she's had 2 fights in there. Calderwood's lost her last 2, but those were to pretty good opponents. So, and Calderwood has a couple alright victories in the UFC too. So I'm picking Calderwood by decision. But like I said, I didn't really look into that fight too far. Next fight up, Mickey Gall versus what's his name? Someone Sullivan. George Sullivan. Once again, didn't look into this one too much. Gall's got some UFC wins, but obviously they're against a very young Sage, Northcutt, Mike Jackson and a CM Punk. Yeah, so he hasn't really proven himself yet, and then he took that loss to, who the fuck was it? I can't remember. Yeah, I guess we're seeing Mickey Gall's stand-up has really big holes. He got hurt by Sage. His stand-up looks pretty terrible, really. So I would pick Sullivan based on the striking, but he's really susceptible to takedowns. So I think Gall can get him to the ground, and Sullivan also has 4 submission losses. So this looks like it could be a fight that's setting up to get Mickey Gall a win. So I'm picking Mickey Gall by submission in that fight, but I can't trust Mickey Gall enough to bet him, so fading that fight. Next up we have Andrew Sanchez versus Marcus Perez. Perez 10-1, but yeah, I didn't look into this one too far either. Yeah, Perez got 3 KOs on his record, but he doesn't look amazing in the striking. I hardly looked into this fight at all, actually, but I'm gonna pick Perez by KO or decision. I think everyone knows about what's his name, Sanchez's propensity for fading in the fight, so yeah, we won't go there. The next fight up, Yuri Alcantara versus Cody. Is it Cody Sandhagen or Corey? Sorry, my laptop being shit. Let's just call him. Fuck, I don't know. So let's call him Sandhagen. Sandhagen's 8-1. He's 25 years old. Fights out of Elevation. His debut in the UFC was versus Austin Arnett, who is 0-3 in the UFC. So just good win for Sandhagen, but against a guy who is yet to post a UFC victory. Looks like Sandhagen is coming down from 145 to 135 for this fight. So I think he fought in the regionals at 145 perhaps, and then he got that debut fight against Arnett on short notice, so came in at 145. Sandhagen looked great in that, looked very loose and relaxed. Real nice variety of strikes. Lovely body shots. Fights with his guard down, and that did cause him to get hit quite a bit. But yeah, I think against a real good striker, he may run into trouble there with that guard down style, because he did get hit by Arnett, but nothing that really seemed to bother him. But he comes in against a hard puncher, there could be problems. He switches really fluidly. his clinch game and grappling looks good. Likes to ground and pound if he gets his opponent to the ground. He's got real nice head movement, so he slips and counters well. Looks great coming forward, but does tend to back up in a straight line if his opponent can back him up. As for Alcantara, huge experience, 35-9. He's 38 years old, which is really fucking old for 135. He's coming off a big first round finish on Joe Soto. Had 2 losses to tough competition prior to that. He has 28 finishes in his career. That's crazy. So I think 14 KOs and 14 submissions. Alcantara likes to set a slow pace. I think that could be a problem for him in this fight. I think Sandhagen might be able to dictate the pace, but we shall see, and I guess that's what will ultimately decide the fight, I think. Alcantara explodes into big winging hooks. Watching his fights, it reminded me quite a lot of Yoel. So he's very stationary, very economical with his movement, and then he'll explode into things. And it sounds kind of ridiculous to say, but this fight could kind of resemble a Yoel versus Robert Whittaker fight at 135. It feels real ridiculous to say that. But I'm interested to see if it does play out like that, with Alcantara stationary, looking to explode into something big, conserving his energy, and Sandhagen leaping in from the outside, using a good variety of strikes, movement, angles, that sort of thing, to get the win. I didn't write down my... so I wrote, I don't think Yuri will be able to dictate the pace. Sandhagen will go after him. He seems like quite aggressive, so I don't think he'll be able to withstand staying on the outside and pot shotting. I think he will move into Yuri's space and attack there, so that could be dangerous for him. I think Sandhagen has a big speed advantage in this fight. Overall, I'm picking Sandhagen to win by decision. I think Yuri's getting on, and his time should be up soon. Next fight up. So don't look into this one too deeply either. James Krause versus Warley Alves. I think Alves heavy favourite here. I just couldn't be fucked taping James Krause because all his fights go to decision, which, is not always the worst thing, but I don't really want to watch a whole bunch of tape on Krause, and the odds are so wide, so definitely not betting Krause. I think Alves will win this fight by submission, but do not think I'll be placing a bet anywhere near that fight. Who we got next? Eric Anders, and he is fighting, what's his name? Tim Williams, is it? Tim, I think. Anyhow, I thought Anders should be 3-0 in the UFC. I thought he beat Machida. Very athletic guy. I don't think he's very experienced. But picking Anders to get the KO in this fight. I think, I might play him. I might play that prop bet, or I might include Anders in a parlay. We'll see what happens there. Next fight up is an exciting one. John Moraga versus Davison Figueiredo. I think most people will be pretty familiar with Moraga's game. Good at striking from distance and keeping the distance. 19-6, long time being kind of there or thereabouts in the division as a contender. Did have a shot against DJ, didn't he? Pretty sure. Won his last 3 fights after losing 3 in a row, so he's kind of on a bit of a resurgence at the moment. He's well-rounded, really nice hands, and he's decent in a scramble, so he had a lot of scrambles with Wilson Hayes. Hayes obviously known for his grappling. perhaps a little overrated maybe, but yeah, Moraga hung pretty well in the grappling scrambles with Hayes. Figueiredo, 14-0. He's gone 3-0 in the UFC. 2 of those wins by TKO. So, pretty good for this division. He's only ever been to decision twice in 14 fights. Got good top control, but I'm not sure he will be able to keep Moraga down. Moraga's pretty good at getting to his feet. This could be a close fight. I wasn't really sure which way to go on that. I was leaning more towards Figueiredo to win by finish, either sub or KO. If it does go to a decision, there's a possibility Moraga could outvolume him and look like the busier fighter and get a decision. So staying away from that one. But exciting fight nonetheless. One of the better ones on the card probably. Next fight. Brian Barberena versus Jake Ellenberger. Interesting tidbit, Barberena knocked out Jake's twin Joe in 2014. Barberena's been fighting pretty high level guys. His recent losses have been to like Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, so guys that are up there in the division. Ellenberger has been KO'd 3 times in his last 3 fights. 6 times in total. I don't know if this guy should be fighting anymore. I'm pretty confident Barberena gets a KO in this fight and may bet that prop. We'll see what the odds are like when it comes out. Next fight, Angela Hill versus Courtney Casey. Both fighters pretty inconsistent records. Both have had some moments and some flashes and some decent victories, but I find neither fighter reliable enough to place a bet on, so just fading that fight completely. Didn't tape it, but my pick will be Hill by decision. Does that bring us to the co-main event? I believe so. Michael Johnson versus Andre Fairley. So could be a close fight. I think it'll be fought on the feet, and I think MJ is the better striker. He has had, if you go and look at his recent record, I'll try to bring it up here, but it's crazy. He has, I didn't realize, but he's had the fucking toughest run at lightweight, just fighting killer after killer. For some reason I started typing in Magic Johnson, but that's the wrong dude. Michael Johnson. Yeah, so I think he's lost 5 of his last 6. And that sounds really bad, but then you go and look at who he's fought, and like, holy fuck. So he's moved down to 145. I think his last one, was against Elkins, which he lost by submission. Before that, he lost to Gaethje. Before that, Habib. Just before that fight, he had a win over Dustin. And then before that, losses to Nate Diaz and Beneil Dariush. And then before that, a win against Edson. So, yeah, he's just been fighting fucking killers. But yeah, I think he's better fighter than Fairley, and he should get a win here. I don't think I wrote down. I think I wrote down Johnson by KO, but fuck, definitely wouldn't bet on that. Gotta wonder where Michael Johnson's at after that fucking skid. 3 losses in a row, 5 of his last 6 are losses. So yeah, wouldn't bet on Michael Johnson. Sorry. So I got some emails and comments I wanted to get into. Where are we? What we got here? Comments. You Got Soul says, can't see how Gaethje beats Vic unless he uses his wrestling, which we've never seen him use at top level. Vic has way better hands and has the power to cause Gaethje problems because his chin looks like it's gone. Gaethje has great leg kicks, but that won't be enough against Vic. So I've seen a lot of people saying shit like this, saying that Gaethje's chin is gone, but when you think about it, we actually haven't seen any evidence of that. So he has 2 knockouts on his record. Yep, his last 2 fights. That's 1 more knockout than Vic has. It'd be pretty safe to say Gaethje's taken more punishment over his career, but he's just been knocked out twice, and the last one, I think against Dustin Poirier, landed 170 strikes, and he got Gaethje out of there in the 4th round. Fight before that, I think Eddie Alvarez landed something like 140. So what do we like? The evidence we have says that Gaethje is durable as fuck. So to put that in perspective, also, James Vick has never landed more than 90 something strikes in a fight, and then like the next one down is 70 something, and then the next one is like 40 or some shit. So he's not a volume guy, and what both Poirier and Eddie showed is you have to lay fucking volume on Gaethje to beat him, and he draws you into that sort of fight. So in each of his UFC fights, Gaethje has landed over 100 strikes on his opponents, so he's got his damage in too. I think so Gaethje's significant strikes per minute is at 8, and he doesn't qualify for the leaderboards on Fight Metric because he's only had the 3 fights, but that's pretty fucking consistent. And when you go look at the best, I forget who was at the top. It might have been Dustin at about 7, but Gaethje's sitting at 8 significant strikes per minute. Vic's somewhere around 4 significant strikes per minute at an accuracy of 37%. So he's not an accurate striker, he's not a volume striker, and I think those are 2 vital things you need to get Gaethje out of there. Yeah, so I don't think Vic's boxing's overrated, man. Like, if he had good hands, his striking accuracy would be way higher than 37. That's really, really, really low. Can't recall often seeing people like elite fighters. Elite fighters don't have accuracy that low. Vic's striking defense is good, but yeah, I can't see him putting enough volume on Gaethje to get him out of there. Get some more comments. Dong Ding Dang, sorry about the pronunciation, says Gaethje win by knockout. What do we got here? Chris Greaves says, these are some of my thoughts on the main event. Vick is primarily a point striker with decent stand-up and some good BJJ on the ground. Gaethje is primarily a brawler that has wrestling that he never uses. He has very powerful leg kicks. If he uses those, in my opinion, Vick has some chicken legs and he could stifle his movement. Vick is a better fighter on paper. I feel like he will win by unanimous decision by using his jab and keeping Gaethje at the end of his punches. Okay, so I've heard this a lot also too. So Vick is going to use his jab, but doing tape on him, I couldn't find a fight where he established a jab and like jabbed up an opponent. I saw someone else on Twitter saying Vick is going to pepper Gaethje from the outside, but you can't pepper someone at 4 significant strikes per minute at a 37% accuracy. Like, so, and against guys who don't pressure like Gaethje or cut the cage like Gaethje. So what's Gaethje do well early in a fight? Moves his head. The head movement fades later on in the fight, but by that time it doesn't matter as much because he's beating the fuck out of your legs. Against durable guys like Eddie and Dustin, it does matter, but so that lack of accuracy from Vick combined with Gaethje's head movement and ability to pressure and put his opponent on the back foot. I was thinking of an interesting one today. So like, everyone's saying Vick's an outfighter, right? So he's gonna land shots from the outside. But man, he's like, that's another thing. Gaethje has a huge speed advantage. Vick's strikes all come very slow and from very far away. So I really don't think he's going to land much on Gaethje as he pressures forward. Also, I don't really see any examples of Vic being good in the pocket either. He just looks kind of too long and awkward for pocket fighting. So I was thinking about, who are some of the better outfighters in the division, and look at Edson Barbosa, right? What's Edson Barbosa's kryptonite? Pressure fighters, like, and guys. So Kevin Lee, for example, he pressured Edson and didn't give him the opportunity to plant and throw his crazy kicks, except for that one point where he did get him. So, I think Gaethje would beat Edson, and Edson is far more dangerous an outfighter than James Vick is. Like, James Vick's strikes come slow, Edson's come at the speed of fucking lightning, and he's more accurate and just way more dangerous. So yeah, I think for an outfighter, way to beat them is with pressure. Don't allow them to plant or get comfortable. Shorten up the stance with kicks, and I just think that's what's going to happen here. J1989W says, who has Gaethje beaten that's so good, or top 10? We beat Michael Johnson, who was top 10, obviously being on a skid. But I mean, like, who has Vic beaten? Like, no one. He hasn't beaten an elite or high level opponent. Gaethje's been in with them and really, really pushed them to their limits. Like, yeah, I just don't think they're the same level. Where are we at? Oh, yeah. So I got some. Where are they? Got an email from Tony Barnett. He says, oh fuck. Hey Lou, we've been watching your breakdowns for a while now. Felt compelled to email you and give you some credit. You should charge for your content on betmma.tips. Like you, I think Gaethje gets it done. I feel more confident than 4 units, but bankroll management is key. In every form of competition, there is a wealth of knowledge to discover from studying tape or film study. Vic's perforation is evident in every matchup, particularly the Dariush fight. I think we're going to kill it on UFC Nebraska. I agree. Good luck, kid, and keep pumping out those quality breakdowns. Just believe we're on the same wavelength. Cejudo, DC, Fabinski, Rakic, Zingano, Gaethje. Although how the fuck did you pick Johns over Munoz? I will never know. And you're a bit trigger happy on Torres, but we all make errors of judgment, especially when coloured by emotion. But you're on point with Gaethje. Add 6 more units. Kind regards, Tony. So thus far, the line shifted a bit. I did add a couple more units. And I know I'm feeling real confident. I might bump it to 10. We're on 6 at the moment. Or I might just include them. I think I have included them in a parlay. Yeah, I have already. What else? Yeah, the Johns pick against Munoz was a bad one. As was the Shorty Torres one, man. He got blasted, but fuck, I couldn't have really foreseen that, but never mind. Got another email here from same fella, from Tony Barnett. Where is it? And he's asking about the Adesanya fight coming up. He's like, hey Louis, I'm in a bit of a pickle about betting Adesanya. I can picture Bronson getting one of his flash KOs. I know none of us can see into the future, but can you offer me anything to stop me betting Brunson? I know he rushes in sometimes with his chin up high, so maybe you could talk percentages. Look forward to hearing from you to settle this one. Kind regards, Tony. Fuck, who? I like the sign off with kind regards. That's real mature. I guess I'm fucking immature, that's why that stands out to me. In regards to the Adesanya versus Brunson fight, I haven't looked into it at all yet, but I am picking Israel. I think, once again, no one's at the same level as Israel when it comes to striking. Maybe in the UFC, but definitely in the middleweight division. Yeah. So Brunson's only path to victory I see being takedown. what is Brunson's main attribute is being explosive and athletic. He has like poor striking, and I guess his wrestling is pretty good, but he has poor striking. So I don't think there's any chance of him clipping Israel. Like we saw, Tavares, who's known as a good technical striker, have no luck getting his hands on Izzy. And I think the same is going to be true for Brunson. Another thing about Israel too, you saw his first two performances and he wasn't super happy with them. Like I enjoyed both those performances. I thought they were really good. This is a guy who just entered the UFC. He's fought 3 times this year already. But do you see what happened when it was the big occasion? And I mean, it was a tough finale, but his first main event, International Fight Week, and look at the performance he put on. I feel like he's that sort of guy that really steps up. This next card, Madison Square Garden, all those big fights on it, I think we're going to see a real impressive performance by Adesanya. So, not super technical analysis there, which I will get to closer to the fight. But yeah, I just think Izzy all day this one. Look at Brunson's recent record. His last fight, he got knocked out on the feet by a Jacare. That doesn't bode very well for a fight against Adesanya. His wins before that were Lyoto and Dan Kelly, 2 pretty old guys. And then losses prior to that were Anderson Silva and Robert Whittaker. Silva's from a different time, man, and Anderson Silva ain't the same. Well, maybe he is the same, but times have changed. I think Izzy would clean Anderson up in a fight. Someone's gonna get mad about that, but I think that's true. So yeah, I think safe money's with Israel. I've included him in a parlay already because you can't get fucking good odds on him anymore. I think that was about it. I was thinking the other day about McGregor and Khabib and just contemplating what McGregor looks like when he comes back. So has he been working or has he just been snorting coke? But all that time he spent focused on boxing, I wonder if we see anything different from him. Like, what has he learned from that experience? He did go, how many rounds was it? With arguably the best boxer of our time. So super curious to see what happens there. Another thing too, though, is it just me or are other people not giving a shit about GSP returning to the octagon? Like, I don't find his return against Bisping that exciting. The fight wasn't great. And now, he keeps coming up on my timeline from the fucking MMA junkie and shit talking about he's thrown his hat in the ring to fight the winner of Conor and Khabib, and that's the last thing I want to fucking see is GSP return at lightweight to fight for the title. And there's just so many exciting fights to be made in that division. I don't know why they would want to fucking do that, but I mean, and is he even that much of a draw? I can't remember what the numbers were like for GSP Bisping, but yeah, we shall see anyhow. Did I do all my picks? Yeah, so we got Ronnie Yaya, 3 units. Justin Gaethje, 6 units. And then I'm going to look at some props and some parlays. So maybe once I've done them next week, I'll put out another video with the props and parlays and get some news and shit and some more comments and more people being mad at me about picking Justin Gaethje over James Vick. I had heaps more points to make about that fight, but I can't remember them now. Yeah. Just think levels, and we will see, like, Vick ain't Dustin Poirier or Eddie Alvarez. he ain't going to be able to withstand what Gaethje puts on him. I don't think he'll never have been in a fight like that. And he's not slick or athletic enough to stay on the outside either. I think he's going to get real tired and real sore real fast, and it probably won't go past the second round, but we shall see. Anyhow, that's me for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Send me an email or get hold of me some other way, messenger, pigeon or some shit. But good luck with your tips. We got another weekend off, and then we got the fights. I can't wait to see some fights again. I ain't watching no fucking Risen or Bellator or none of that shit. So yeah, enjoying the time off, but keen to get back into some fights and win some money. And I hope the same for you. Shot.